Hi, the SI meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Friday, November 4th. Well, a pretty decent weekend here in the Mid-Atlantic region, although it will be quite chilly on Saturday, well below normal. But then we'll begin a warming trend on Sunday that will continue well into next week. In fact, Monday and Tuesday should see temperatures well up in the 60s, and even 70 degrees is not out of the question for a few places in the Mid-Atlantic region on Tuesday afternoon. Well, before we take a closer look at the local weather situation, periodically we like to take a look at the sun and see what the latest activity is in terms of sunspots. We're coming out of a solar minimum, gradually headed towards a solar maximum. That should occur probably around 2013 or so. So as we go on over the next several months and a couple of years, we ought to have increasing number of sunspots, an increasing number of solar storms, and a couple of interesting things going on right now on the sun. This is the very latest solar image. And there's a huge sunspot showing up now that's kind of rotating around on the sun, headed in this direction, and will be facing the Earth over the next several days. So this, one of the biggest sunspots seen in many years, will be facing the Earth over the next 5 days or so. And this increases the threat for a solar storm to affect the Earth in that time period. You may recall a couple of weeks ago there was quite an impressive solar storm that actually caused northern lights to be visible all the way down into the deep south in places like Georgia, for example. Well, this particular sunspot is even larger and may very well cause some solar storm activity over the next 5 days or so. So periodically we certainly like to monitor what's going on the sun, and we'll monitor this particular situation over the next 5 days or so to see if there's any future possibility of northern lights way down in unusual lower latitudes. Well, in terms of our local weather conditions, here we have the U.S. surface map, and there is a storm right now that's over the Carolinas. This is the snowstorm that pounded the Rockies earlier in the week. It has basically moved from west to east across Missouri and into the Carolinas, has weakened somewhat, and it is spreading quite a bit of rain from southern Virginia down into the Carolinas. But the precipitation will stay to the south of the Mid-Atlantic region, although this storm is throwing some clouds back our way. Those clouds should retreat later on today, and sunshine should increase during the afternoon hours as this large high-pressure system over the middle of the country moves east, and that will control our weather for the weekend and right into the early part of next week. For the weekend, again, it will bring in some chilly air on Saturday, well below normal. In fact, our highs are still right around 60 or 62 or so in much of the Mid-Atlantic, and we'll have trouble moving past the low 50s on the day Saturday. But then the high moves off the northeast coast, and winds around it will swing to the southwesterly direction, and will turn milder early next week, reaching well into the 60s on Monday and Tuesday. Well, here's the latest IR satellite loop. A couple things to point out. Here is the storm and the clouds associated with it over the Carolinas. And there's already clearing setting, and you can kind of see the clearing setting in northwestern PA. This whole clearing trend will continue to move to the south and east as the day progresses. So lots of clouds from Washington across to Philadelphia and New York City this morning. The trend will be for clearing during the afternoon and increasing amounts of sunshine, and that'll pave the way for a clear and cold night tonight. Temperatures will drop rather quickly with a stiff north wind as well later on this afternoon and tonight. But clear skies out here in the Midwest and the middle part of the country are headed our way for the weekend. Both days should feature plenty of sunshine, but quite chilly on Saturday and a bit milder on Sunday. But the real mild air comes in for Monday and Tuesday. Farther to the west, there's a huge storm that has slid all the way down the west coast from the Alaskan coast all the way down the northwest coast of the U.S. and now affecting central California and even southern California with some rain. This huge storm will trek across the Rocky Mountains and cause some more accumulating snows in the Rockies over the next couple of days. Well, here's the latest radar loop. Again, that coastal storm over the Carolinas is throwing some rain as far north as southeastern Virginia and across the southern tip of the Delmarva Peninsula, but that is headed out to sea. It will not advance any farther north than where it is right about now. There are clouds, as we just saw in the satellite image, all the way back into the Pennsylvania area, but that will tend to clear to the south and east as the day progresses, increasing amounts of sunshine for the afternoon hours. Well, let's just take a look at one computer forecast map for Saturday morning. This is from the GFS, the Global Forecast System, And by tomorrow morning, that Carolina low will be off the coast, moving away from the east coast. No threat at all for the weekend from this particular storm. High pressure that is now over the Midwest will move to the northeastern part of the U.S. and dominate the weather. Again, there will be a stiff north wind later on tonight into tomorrow, and it'll be rather chilly tomorrow. Make no mistake about it. It'll be well below normal, some 5 to 10 degrees below normal for this time of the year. This high, however, then ultimately moves off the northeast coast, and southwesterly winds behind it will bring in milder air for the beginning of next week, and will move well into the 60s on Monday and Tuesday, and that mild weather should continue on Wednesday as well. The next threat of rain looks like around Thursday of next week. So a lot going on, although it should be a relatively dry and pleasant weekend here in the mid-Atlantic region. We have a solar storm that we'll have to watch the potential for over the next several days. And finally, don't forget, turn the clocks back this weekend. That's it for now. I'm the SI meteorologist, Paul Dorian.